Jagadvilakshanam Brahma Brahmanonyanna kinchana Brahmanyad bhati chen mithya yatha marumarichika. Jagadvilakshanam Brahma Brahmanonyanna kinchana Brahmanyad bhati chen mithya yatha marumarichika. Now here, interesting, 63 and 64th verse are very interesting. It's very subtle, but it is a very beautiful message. Here, he says, Brahman is other than the universe. There exists nothing that is not Brahman. If anything other than Brahman appears to exist, it is unreal, like a mirage. Marumarichika. I read the translation again. Brahman is other than the universe. There exists nothing that is not Brahman. Tinkama, you must note the language. I said 63 and 64th verse is going to give an answer. This is where it is. There exists nothing that is not Brahman. It's not Brahman is not dependent on the matter. If anything other than Brahman appears to exist for you, it is unreal, like a mirage. It's your own illusion. It is Maya. Now, what could have compelled Adi Shankaracharya ji to say this? What could have compelled is there is the example. If you take the example of the red ball and fire, the red ball and fire perhaps introduces the concept of duality, that there is the ball, there is the fire, and there is the process of red ball losing, sorry, the iron ball, I'm sorry. There is the iron ball, there is the fire, and then the iron ball losing its straight and becoming fire. So there are two elements there, isn't it? So that introduces the concept of duality. Therefore, he quickly corrects and says, just like iron ball or fire are separate, you may say world and Brahman are separate. And you may say the world becomes one with Brahman. You are creating a duality when the truth is there is only non-dual. Advayam, there's only one. There are no two. Therefore, he says, there exists nothing other than Brahman. If you see anything other than Brahman, what is that, Jama? If you see anything other than Brahman, what is it?
It's a Maya, it's a mirage.
It is unreal. It is a mirage. It is Maya. So are you seeing Brahman or are you seeing other than Brahman?
We in the world see only duality, Guruji, and we see the world as real. We cannot perceive the world as unreal because we can touch, feel the world. So we all think that the world is real. It's very hard to comprehend that this world is not real.
I look out of the balcony now and I see the pictures, landscape and the beautiful backdrop. It is difficult for me to say it's unreal. He's saying it's Maya, and all what we are doing is we're getting mesmerized by Maya. We are getting caught up in Maya. Jimika Raji, I have to explain the truth. Please don't, please forgive me for saying that. I have put in so much 30 years of effort and you come to my place and say everything is Maya. What is this? Very unfair. Huh? So this is from an absolute standpoint. You must understand that. So from an absolute standpoint, there exists nothing other than the desert. If you perceive the mirage, it is just a superimposition on the desert. So desert is the substratum, the mirage is an illusion. There exists nothing other than the desert, my dear. Therefore, he says, there exists nothing other than the self. The self is the substratum. The universe actually cannot exist other than Brahman. Where did the universe come from? Okay, going back to our famous answer, which every Vedantan gets excited about, and I have to get excited when it comes to this. What is the cause of the mirage? Vaidyanathanji, what is the cause of the mirage?
The cause of the mirage is scientifically, there is the hot air, and our perception and our expectation creates an illusion of an oasis in front, because that's what you're desperately looking for. And therefore you perceive that, and then as you keep walking towards it, it keeps going on and finally disappears. So that's the illusion. Partly by physics is the hot air causes inversion, and then the underlying factor is that your mind is desperately looking for something that you see in the mirage, which is basically an oasis or a water hole for that.
So that is all too much physics for us. But it's too high physics and science for us. But what I can gather in the little bits and crumbs, I make sense of it. I will stick to my territory, which I want you to bring into that territory. And the thought processes, the question is, what has brought about the mirage? Instead of asking what has brought about the world, I'm asking with an example, and then we will draw the analogy. So what has brought about the desert? Sorry, the mirage, I'm sorry.
The duality, because we perceive the world as a dual. As real.
Don't come to the world.
Stick with the desert.
You stick with the example. You and I know there only exists a desert. Am I right?
Correct.
For reasons you have rightly said, you start perceiving a mirage where there's a desert.
Correct.
Right? Now the question is, what has brought about a mirage where there's actually hot scorching sand?
The mirage is in the mind. As the mirage is our own mind's creation as we walk through the desert. It doesn't really exist.
You say that doesn't exist, but when a person sees,
right,
he doesn't say it is my imagination. He sees it there, isn't it?
Correct.
So you've got to analyze from his perspective and see what is it that has caused. Could there be possible of a mirage coming without a desert there?
No.
So the desert is a substrate.
Mirage happens in the desert only.
So there is the desert that is a substratum for the mirage.
Right.
Could there have been a possibility of seeing a mirage if you had seen the desert as desert?
No, if you know that exact, yes, you will not see it. Ajnana.
Now we are coming to the point. There is the desert that supports the mirage. If you had seen the desert as desert, there is no question of seeing a mirage. Correct. But it is the ignorance of the desert has created a mirage.
True.
I will seal it at that. We'll end it at it.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Now, Sethuramanji, can you convey the same thing in the philosophy, what we are trying to say? What has brought about the world?
Guruji, our ignorance.
Our ignorance? Ignorance of what?
ignorance of this duality.
No. So what is the verse saying? Gayatri Ma, can you put the verse again for everybody, please?
Ignorance of Brahman.
Could you read the translation, sir, please?
Yeah, Brahman is other than the universe. There exists nothing that is not Brahman. If anything other than Brahman appears to exist, it is unreal like a mirage.
Correct. So there is no duality. That's what the verse is saying. Am I right, sir?
Yeah.
The duality doesn't exist. Now the ignorance is of what? The ignorance is of the
Brahman.
Brahman. So what comes out of this ignorance of Brahman?
This duality. The world appears.
The world appears.
Yeah.
And then there's obviously duality. You see the world separate from the self.
Yeah.
So therefore, how do you get out of this duality?
By going inward and by focusing on self and
by gaining ATMABODHA. By gaining the vidya of the Brahman, you will knock off the ignorance which is creating the pluralistic world of Maya, which you are caught up in and suffering. If only you realize, my dear, that there exists nothing other than Brahman. It is because of this ignorance of Brahman you have projected a world, isn't it? And that world which you have created is haunting you. That world you have created is bothering you. And all of this happening is the illusory world. You see, isn't it beautiful, sir?
Yeah. Misery and suffering.
Yeah. All this misery and suffering is coming out of an illusory projection. All starting because of avidya. Yes, sir. You wanted to say something, Setuji, please?
No, thank you.
Right. Perfect. So if you start drawing the analogy and start examining, it is so profound, and you will understand all this effort. You may say, sir, why are we racking our head with this knowledge? Is because of this. That wisdom that we are trying to gather through the study is that quintessential tool which plays as an antidote to avidya and relieves you instantly of all the suffering you're going through. All the suffering you're going through is because of your attachment to the imaginary world. All the stress is what? It's all in your own mind, which is self-created. Why are you going through all this? The moment you understand, I'm chasing a dream. It is just a mere dream. And what are you running behind? If you start philosophizing, examining, you actually pull the carpet under your feet. It really sets you thinking and come to a conclusion. There's nothing in the world that is worth falling a prey to. There's nothing worth, because it's just a mere imagination. I don't have to run behind it thinking it is real. Just like you're running in the desert, looking at the mirage, thinking it is real. Your whole life, you're running behind something, thinking it is everything, until you come to realize it is just a mere myth. You think money is everything, run, and acquire money. Reddy Garu, is money everything, sir?
No, absolutely no, Guruji. It's a part of the life. Just one mere part of it, not everything.
It's there. You need it. You and I need it, existence. But
yes.
If you place it above the very existence of life, isn't that getting carried away by a part of the illusion, sir?
Yes, absolutely, Guruji. If we fall prey to that, money.
Running behind money is like running for a mirage in the desert, thinking it's everything. You're fooled. You're fooled by your own imaginary belief that it's everything in life. But the only solution to this is ATMABODHA, sir. I do not know whether you all are able to connect these dots and come to the point in the exercise that we are doing. The exercise we are doing right now is to embark on this journey of unfolding the self, of gaining ATMAVIDYA, and there's no other better way is through doing Swadhyaya, to get up in the early hours. That's what the very first invocatory prayer we chanted, isn't it? Pratasmarami hridi samsphuradatma tattvam Satchit sukham paramaham sagatim turiyam Yat swapna jagara sushuptam aveti nityam Tad brahma nishkalamaham nacha bhuta sangha. As we will not be very long with this text, the text is coming to an end. As long as we are here, I tell you, let us soak as much of it. We do not know when again we will have this opportunity to take up this text. Not that we will not take, nothing is taken for granted. So when time comes and it needs to be repeated, I shall repeat it. We all need to be reminded so that we understand the gravity and the depth of this text. It is truly a fascinating thing. If the sadhak is ready for it, it is just pure stuff. This is pure stuff, uncontaminated, undiluted, the highest of all. He says, Brahman is other than the universe. There exists nothing that is Brahman. And he mentions it because he introduced the concept of the iron ball and fire, just to arrest or offset the possibility of the misconception of an existence of duality. He says there's no duality, there is only Brahman. If there is anything other than that, it's your Brahma, it's your own imagination. So wipe it off. That's what 63 says. Now we'll take 64, I'll touch on it and we'll conclude. Setuji, you want to say something, sir? Yes, please. Yes, please. Sorry. Yes, sir. Certainly.
Sir, the lesson we learned is that relative level, we should not give too much black market value to so many things. See, money we need for transactions, not much beyond that. Like that, in every aspect of life, we have to reduce attachments, and because we immediately, getting towards self is difficult, but we can start practicing at a relative level.
Correct.
And then
absolutely
go towards that. Yeah.
Go towards that. So as you rightly said, so I have to mute. Okay, perfect, sir, because there is a resound I'm getting. I am in fact taking the phrase from you. You said the state we are in is we are giving a black market value to something out there in the world. Black market value means a value more than what it needs, isn't it? And that is nothing but an overly attachment to it. If there is sambar and vada and idli that is there, so beautiful idli, vada, sambar is there. Everything made with the most sattvic ingredients. Hariji, I want to ask you, what should be the value to the what is that millet idli, organic vada ingredients, and the best of sambar, and just to add into that whole buffet, you have millet pongal also. Amrutam. These are all, we've never tasted all this amrutam. That is, see, if you have any examples which you've never heard, is because we have never tasted all this. So this is the amrutam we have been fed for the past 2 days. Now, when that comes to you, what should be your sense of value? I think Hariji is having difficulty unmuting himself. I'll ask Reddy Garu only, because he also was with us. We'll get a clear perspective of it. Okay.
Yes, Guruji.
Reddy Garu,
Yes, Guruji. In a lighter vein, when you have those ingredients, I think you will become a slave and you eat more than what you're supposed to.
Correct. So, no, I think somebody wants to comment on it. I think Harishji, any comment, Harishji here? No, you are commenting. I didn't want to comment anything. Reddy garu, yes, sir. He has something to say, sir. Please.
Please, please.
I think Hariji is ready to talk, but it is really speaking not in a lighter vein, it's a heavier vein.
Very heavy, I must say, not just heavy.
We overwhelmed with this ingredients and we fall prey to that an uncontrollable way of.
Yeah. We got to have Vijay, just please mute Hariji, So it's important for us to be extremely conscious of areas where we are drawn, we lack our control, we lack our objectivity, and that brings our downfall. That in fact is nothing but attachment that brings our downfall. Vaidyanathanji, you're very welcome, sir. I'm taking the liberty on behalf of Jimmy Garu inviting you here because I've made it my home now here. But it's only you'll get it here. You'll not get anywhere else. So for that, I know you are getting back to your normal self, your vibrant self. So we'll see you soon. Yes, Hariji, what's happening? Why are you struggling to just mute yourself?
Guruji, I have a doubt here.
Solugo.
It is written Brahman is other than the universe. And if we are comparing the example of mirage and desert, if I make a statement, mirage is nothing but desert. Like that, if I make that statement, can I not make a statement, universe is nothing but Brahman?
Sir, you are actually, you are absolutely right. In fact, you are slightly going ahead of the text. The 63rd verse, he speaks in a certain statement. In fact, the very next verse, he says this, what you're saying. Exactly what you're saying, he says next.